Hello and welcome to On the Table. I'm your host, Otto Othman. With the all-new RTM ASEAN blog, we're broadcasting on RTM Click and MyTV's Berita RTM channel, which is also live streaming on YouTube. Now, on tonight's episode, in next 30 minutes, we'll be discussing on the challenges and strategies surrounding tiger conservation in Malaysia. Now, welcome to the studio, Dr. Henry Chan, the Conservation Director of WWF Malaysia. So it's good to have you here, Doctor. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Now, without further ado, Doctor, can you provide us an overview of the current state of tiger population here in Malaysia and the conservation efforts that has been done so far?
Yeah, thank you, Otto. As many of you will have read in the newspaper, our tiger situation in Malaysia is in a national crisis. Why do we say so? We have less than 150 individuals in the wild, and under business as usual, with nothing drastic done, we would lose all our tigers.
Mm-hmm. Now, that's in comparison with 2010, which is a bit higher, but now it's 150, less than 150, but that's only the accountable ones. What about those that we are, missing out? Is there like any numbers for that?
Well, it's based on a very comprehensive survey. We have undertaken survey throughout the tiger habitats, at least 1 million hectares in Semenanjung, Malaysia. Obviously, there are some tigers that are not accountable, but this is a general condition of our tiger situation.
But how did it come to this, Doctor? Can you please explain?
Yes. So when we look into the decline of the numbers with the tigers heading towards extinction, generally speaking, there are two broad categories of that threat. So number one is our tigers is part of the international wildlife trade. What does this mean? Tigers attract poachers because hitting a tiger is like getting a lottery jackpot. And therefore, organized crimes syndicate look at tiger as one of the things to be hunted and to be sold in the markets. The same syndicates are involved in human trafficking, drug trafficking, money laundering, and so forth. It's a very lucrative trade. So we got professional poachers coming from Vietnam, Cambodia, and so on, living deep in our forests, and they put up thousands of snares in the forest. And the snares would not just trap tigers, but also other wildlife. And that's why it's a great decline. And the second reason is it's a loss of tiger habitat.
So the loss of tiger habitat, could it be because of the fact that people are moving closer towards the, or maybe we need to expand more urban areas, or is it because we're not in that point where we're connecting with nature as well? Is that one of the reasons why?
Yeah. Construction
and also expansion of urban areas?
Yeah, indeed. Although you mentioned about 2010, but let's go backwards in time. At the time when we achieved independence, so we are now in the period of Merdeka celebration. So as our country become a nation state, we do aspire to become a developed nation. So naturally, we will open up places for towns, residential areas, factories and roads and plantations. And then I think one very important point in our historical moment for Malaysia is the 13th May 1969. So after the government have analyzed the cause of the riots, we found that there are actually hardcore Malays in the Malay heartlands. These are landless people. Through the inheritance of the land of the Malay, it will become a time bomb in the future. So we gave birth to the new economic policy, the NEP, which is a driver to eradicate poverty. So one way to do so is to open up land for the landless people, putting into plantations and so forth. So if you drive from Johor Bahru, just drive all the way to Kelantan, and you would see palm plantations all over the places. And wherever the palm plantations, this is meant that this was former tiger habitat, and there's a loss. So this is one key reasons for that.
Now, I'll pick on that in just a bit, Doctor, but my next question is, what are the main threats facing tigers nowadays, and what are the strategies WWF is employing to counter that?
Yeah, so when we talk about habitat fragmentation, roads being cut across, and which result in the road kills and cars hitting the wildlife and tigers included, we don't work by ourselves. We always support and follow government policies, one of which is a Central Forest Spine Master Plan. So the Central Forest Spine Master Plan is the attempt to reconnect all the forests that are fragmented down from Johor all the way to the border with Thailand. And wherever there are large forest blocks, there are places that need to be connected. So those are the places where there's a connectivity. So these are where the roads cut across, and wildlife, of course, they cut across into these forests. One way that the WWF helps is to provide information through a wildlife survey and determine where are the likely crossings. So in these places, you find road signs like this tapir area, elephant area, or tiger area. So you just slow down your drive, So that's one way. Second way is to work with the government to have what we call elevated highways. These are what we call viaducts. They allow animals to go underneath the roads, So this is very expensive. It costs millions of ringgit to build those highways. So the location is very crucial. So through wildlife surveys, you determine where are those areas that should be constructed.
Now, when you're talking about construction, Doctor, I want to pick on that, your thoughts on this. When it comes to construction, wouldn't it also encroach those areas? We all know that Malaysia is one of the oldest rainforests in the world, tropical rainforest, 150 million years.
Yes.
But to encroach on those areas just to build those bridges, wouldn't that affect the environment as well?
Well, it does, but let us go back to the needs of the nation states, right? We have roads going north and south, following the main range, east and then west. But then you also need to cut across, otherwise you drive, in the past we used to drive for tens of hours, right, to go to Kota Baru. We built the Karak Tunnel Highway and so on, cut short the journey. But as the nation states develop, we need more roads. So it's inevitable that we will have to build the roads. Now your question is, how can we reduce or avoid this thing? It's all about land use planning. So we have a policy called the National Physical Plan, the NPP, that tells us where development shouldn't be done. So there's this document, we should follow it. You have also got the Central Forest Spine Master Plan that tells us where are important forests. So we are working with the governments, with the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Economics, and the Works Ministry of what we call developing a green budgeting system. So under this system, whenever there's a development fund to be requested by, say, JKR, then there are provisions of getting the road development. The first thing is avoid cutting through the forest, avoid them. But sometimes you can't do that because if you avoid the forest, it will be too long a journey. And it's important sometimes you cut across the forest. Then when that is done, then you align properly, like reduce the impact towards the erosion and so on, which you're asking, steep areas. And some places that you need to build bridges, these bridges can be extended, lengthened and so on, and underneath can be the path for the wildlife. So this system will be very useful for us to do so. But an important element is what we call spatial planning. You put in conservation, so it's called conservation spatial planning. That tells us where are the important areas that you should avoid, and so on and so forth.
Do we have that already here in Malaysia? Do we have that kind of plan already set in place?
Yes, as I said just now, we provide information on where you determine the wildlife crossings. So the first layer of information, when we talk about conservation spatial planning, is layers and layers of data. The first layer would be topography maps. And this is a map that we all have access to. We can see where are the steep areas and more gentle areas, where are the rivers and so on. So we can start planning. Then we avoid, forest reserve and so on. Then we overlay maybe third layer with wildlife conservation. So with the wildlife data that we have, we know where are the migration routes. There are some theories to that biologists use. So we know generally where are the crossing of the wildlife. So these are the places that you determine the wildlife corridor. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much to those people on the ground who actually provide those information. Now, my next question is, Doctor, can you explain the role of habitat loss and the fragmentation in challenges of tiger conservation in Malaysia?
Yeah, habitat loss is the second threat that drives to the extinction. As I mentioned earlier, as we strive for national development, poverty eradication, we need to provide land for people, and this has fragmented. So what you then see is if you drive along the road, as mentioned from south to the north, you still see fragmented forests here and there. Yeah, these are the remaining tiger habitats. Some are large, like Taman Negara, all the way, crossing Kelantan and Terengganu. There's also the big forest patch between Perak and Kelantan and so on. But there are then smaller patches, yeah. So here, the government's plan of the Centre for Spine is useful, yeah, to help us reconnect all these places. Now, the question is about the consequence of that fragmentation. So tigers is a top of the wildlife, top of the food chain. They require a lot of large area. So wherever there's an increase of population of tigers, for various reasons, they would have to come out. That's where they meet the road kill. Where they go into the village areas, there's what they call human-wildlife conflicts. So these conflicts need to be addressed.
Now, Doctor, moving on to the next question that I have over here. What are the key policies and laws and regulations in place to protect tigers specifically in Malaysia when it comes to this? Is there any other policies that has been in place and it's working right now?
Yeah, first of all, let us talk about whether it works or not. So you'll find that the occurrences of tiger conflicts, road kills, you can see patterns of events. Wherever these policies and laws are effective, there are certain reports. Wherever these laws are not being implemented properly, then this may the occurrence. So what are these laws? Number one is we have the Wildlife Conservation Act that provides regulations, how much penalty and so on. So poachers can go to jail and be fined R1 million and so on. So this is number one, focusing on the general wildlife conservation. On tiger conservation, we have the National Tiger Species Action Plan that tells us where are the important areas for tigers. So generally speaking, we have got three main tiger priority areas. Down at the south, the Andau-Rompin complex, which borders Pahang and Johor. Then bordering with Pahang, Kelantan and Terengganu, there is Taman Negara and the greater Taman Negara landscape. Then towards the north, border with Thailand, Perak and Kelantan is the northern Banjarati Wangsa. So these are the three priority landscapes, and this is defined by the Tiger Action Plan. Then we got, very importantly, because of the international wildlife trade, the Royal Malaysian Police has set up a department called the Wildlife Crime Bureau. This is very crucial because, syndicates is actually involved in money laundering. So you need to use the Anti-Money Laundering Act to trace flow of money and to apprehend the masterminds. Then, on the broader context of habitat loss, you have the National Forestry Policy that tells us where are important places that must be kept as forests. What is important arising from this tiger crisis that led to the formation of comprehensive plan is our government has pledged to increase peninsular Malaysia forest cover from the present percentage today at 43% to 50% by 2040 in accordance to the National Physical Plan. Now this increment is about 900,000 hectares, so we will have new tiger habitats over the next decade. Then specifically on the location of the land users and so forth, as I mentioned earlier, we have got the Central Forest Spine Master Plan that connects this. Where roads are to be built and so on and so forth, they are guided by the National Physical Plan. Now at the basic administrative level, we hope this can be further enhanced. There is a district area plan where all zones of land users will be organized properly. And earlier we talked about the conservation spatial planning, where are the forests, where are the wildlife corridors and so on will be put in the plan. And this will be legislated by the council and agree. So it will be enshrined by a document of law. Yeah? So I think that is very important. You may want to ask, is it effective, all this stuff?
We will get to that in just a bit. It's great that we have laws already in place. We have people participating in this and we have all the data. But what's most important is whether we act upon it. That's another question which I want to throw to you, Doctor, in just a bit. But we're going to go for a little short break, and when we come back, we'll delve more into this tiger conservation issue here in Malaysia. And welcome back. And today we're talking to our special guest here today with regards to tiger conservation. And early on we were talking about policies and laws and regulations in place to protect tigers here in Malaysia. Now let's move on to how effective is it, Doctor?
Yeah. So effectiveness is actually monitored by presence or absence of certain things. We call these indicators. The absence of certain things sometimes is also good. So, for example, you don't hear of reports in Upper Perak, where the BRAF and partners are working closely. This is because we have still large habitat. We have about 600,000 hectares of forest. They are connected, healthy forests. But there are then reports where, like in Bentong or in Karak Highway or places like in Guamusang, where you do have increased reports. This is what we told earlier, is habitat loss, roads cutting across and so forth. But the broader question, Otto, is in the broader context, right? Tigers is not just found in Malaysia. We have also cases where tigers have improved the numbers in Nepal and India. And we are seeing that what we're doing in Malaysia is actually happened in Nepal and India a couple of years back, and their numbers are coming back. So we are very confident that by the right approaches and so forth, systematically, with the broader support from the Malaysians and our corporates and political support, we are very confident that our tigers number will come back.
Well, hopefully so, Doctor. Since we have everybody on board on this already, and it took how many years just to get everybody on board and the awareness, and it's still ongoing.
Yeah.
For the fact we were talking off air as well with regards to technology that has been in place and seeing how effective it is in combating poaching and combating people who are, harming these tigers. That we see the numbers are dwindling. 150 less tigers left in the wild here in Malaysia. And just to recap on this, Malaysia is one of the oldest tropical rainforests in the world. 150 million years old. So the best thing that we can do is to take care of what we have right now. And it's great that we have the policies, but I think when it comes to enforcement, you did mention that we need to enhance it even more and broaden it even more. So how is it so far?
Yeah, so I just use analogy, right? If the police that patrol our neighborhood, if they are very ineffective, you call them, they only come like 3 hours after the robbers or the thief will have gone, right? So it's all about how effective upon report or upon sighting of police. So I'll give you an example. Just go to Sabah, where there are anti-fish bombs. People throw bomb into the corals and get a lot of fish to be sold. So we put up devices that can locate this location. But the information only comes out 3 months because to dive and retrieve them. So by then, cases have already happened, right?
Yes.
So what we are doing now, with the support of our government, we put up real-time devices. So when the bombs happen, the blast happens, immediately the system of the location, real-time, would come to our system. We know where it happens. Immediately the location, the geolocation, is being given to the enforcement agencies. Immediately the information goes out to the area. So you got navies, got marine police, patrolling the area. Straight away they go there. So with this instant, report and enforcement coming in, eventually those places there's no more fish bombs. So similarly, if we have such devices where we got real-time reporting where poaching is being found, immediately the information goes to the enforcement agencies. Immediately within a couple of hours, you can go and apprehend them. So by having this, poachers wouldn't want to spend time in our forest anymore. It's just not worth the effort.
But do we have that, though, here in Malaysia?
Well, for
Is it in
us,
testing stage, do we have that kind of technology?
yes, we do have, but it's very much, for the moment, linked with what we call the multimedia cooperation on the general program to put up, 90% of Malaysia under this internet coverage. But in the deep forest, because they are very low population, so it is a more effort to put all these station here and there.
Oh, so that's why it's very important to have the 5G towers in place in these areas to actually get this geolocation working.
Yeah,
I see.
It is important, but then it's also a cost, right? So there are also technologies that once you have one tower that's connected to a number of other sub towers, you can connect that. So I think we need to build this infrastructure without dependent on the what you call the provision that is given by the telephone companies. There are technologies. We learned that the army would also have the kind of technology. So I think it's important for the military to work with the enforcement agencies to perhaps increase the coverage.
Now, Doctor, you did mention earlier on during our first session that whereby you have the data. Now, is there any leakage in terms of data whereby poachers can get this information to know that, oh, this area has the tigers, maybe I should go there?
Yeah.
Do you think?
So the answer is no, because we are working in close collaboration under a program called Operasi Bersepadu Khazanah, OPK. It's led by the Department of Wildlife and National Park, Penghilitan, with the police coming together. So all agencies, including NGOs like WWF, we are committed towards that program. All data will not be shared by anybody. It will only be centralized by Penghilitan. And the idea is to analyze the information so that we understand patterns of behavior. So we know some places are more prone with poaching and so forth. These are called hotspots. So more attention is given towards that. It's the use of intelligence, So intelligence, of course, you don't share with outside your circle.
I see. Now, this is just in regards to poaching. There are other aspects as well with endangering the Malayan tiger. But you have also initiatives that put in place to educate the communities. So can you tell us a bit more about the initiatives that has been working so far and works?
I will give a specific example of Rio Belum State Park. So this is the park in Upper Perak. Together, the WWF and the Park Authority, with the support of the European Union, give us a grant of about €1 million. The idea is basically to capacity build the local orang asli, the Jahai community who still live in the national park, to become the tiger guardians and forest stewards. So the thing is that we are already employing them as our tiger rangers. They are the ones who patrol the forest. They spend 15 days every month in the forest. They know how to use GPS and mapping and so forth. So the point here is to have a informal education that leads towards a certificate equivalent to, say, SPM and the diploma.
As a sort of reward and thank you and appreciation to their contribution to saving the tigers.
But it's not only that, right? It's not just appreciation, but with this certificate, they are eligible to be employed in the government staff.
Wow.
And therefore become part of the civil service.
Is it possible for them to be rangers in other areas as well?
That training can be done, and we are now working with the authorities, working towards an accreditation of the certificate. I think that's most powerful, because you live at home, you protect your own forest, and yet you get paid, right? So this is part of the systems that we're working towards.
Okay. I love the fact that we have this initiative in place and it's working. We already talked about the technologies that are in place, as well as the policy that has been in place. Now let's talk about another issue, which is is it possible to have a non-tiger human conflict here in Malaysia?
A non-human tiger conflict?
Yeah, I mean, is there any tiger conflicts here in Malaysia? Can we live together with the tigers?
Yes, I think that would fall into a very exciting program called the planetary health. So here I want to shout out to Tan Sri Dr. Jamila, who is leading the initiative at Sunway University. So planetary health would mean that we live within our confine of what nature can provide for us. So what is important is we have sufficient environment for various services that forest provides. So this place will also be important for wildlife habitat. It's like in the form of national parks. So it's only meant for wildlife. And we also have space where there are interaction between human being and wildlife. This is like in the form of sustainable forest management, some from plantation, but the contact is minimized, so there's less conflict. Then beyond that, closer to human territory, where the villages are, you could have wildlife proof, enclosure system, so the tigers wouldn't attack your wildlife and so on. So it can be done that way. And that is under the planetary health system. I think it's very exciting because we are allocating spaces for nature, wildlife, space between human and wildlife and the human being. It can be done. I think all we need now is to have deeper understanding of what happened in the past, a framework that is successful elsewhere that we practice, and moving forward. Now, I want to bring back one important point. I also want to give a shout out to companies that are very responsible. So in Sabah, we are working on connectivity, where palm oil plantations have fragmented forests. So it's important to reconnect those forests, for orangutan and for elephants. So we have got Sabah Softwood, Sawit Kinabalu, and KLK, who actually set land aside for the land to be reconnected. And here we undertake restoration. So it's very crucial that this system is also being introduced into Peninsular Malaysia, where palm oil companies will then say, okay, look, we have supported national development, let us contribute further towards conservation by putting land to reconnect this fragmented forest. I think we need whole of Malaysia approach, including everybody that is listening to us now.
Exactly. So with that, Doctor, since we don't have much time, I'm going to leave you with one message that you'd like to tell our audience.
Yes, I'll take 1 minute. So we actually have a lot of effort by government. We have the right policies, regulations, and framework. All we need to do now is to bring different stakeholders together, palm oil companies and communities, and even the banks, for example. So we talked about palm oil just now, and communities support our work, go to our website, but the banks are also very crucial. So if anybody come for a loan, and the banks are actually practicing this, but not every bank, so we hope every bank in Malaysia does that. You then look at where are your projects, are they impacting on environment and conservation? If it does, then can you ask them to realign, mitigate certain things, So I think this would help, paper planning, proper development, and so on. We don't only act upon when problems has happened. It's too late, We can't avoid preventing things from happening. And that is good land use planning. We have the instrument in place in the country.
All right, thank you very much, Doctor, for that. It's been such an enlightening discussion with you, and I hope that whatever endeavors you're going through will be smooth sailing from there. Now, with that, that's all the time that we have for today for On the Table this evening. And we've been talking to Dr. Henry Chan, Conservation Director of WWF Malaysia. Now, a repeat of this episode's broadcast can be viewed again at the same time tomorrow and subsequent days on both RTM Click and MyTV's Berita RTM channel, which is also live streaming on YouTube. So till next Thursday, we'll discuss on another topic on interest. So with that, I'm Otto Othman signing off, and have a pleasant day ahead.
Thank you so much. Very good.